The void stretched endlessly, a black ocean studded with distant stars, and in its midst floated the Dominion's fleet, 1,000,000 ships, perfectly aligned, gleaming like a spine of steel across the cosmos. Silence reigned, heavy and suffocating, until a single calm voice broke the stillness they had never lost, until today. Admiral Zill stood at the helm of the flagship Valaris, tall and rigid, eyes locked on the holographic tactical display. His mind, usually a precise instrument of strategy, buzzed with unease. Beside him, Lieutenant Orin, the young and careful second-in-command, hovered, noting an anomaly, a single blip threading through the Dominion's formations. "Sir, it's only one ship, but it's moving wrong," he murmured, voice tight with disbelief. Zill's jaw tightened. One ship. Laughable. A mosquito against a predator. This should be trivial. Pride swelled, but beneath it a whisper of dread crept. Human vessels, silent, unarmed, almost spectral, glided past. Entire squadrons. No shields flared, no weapons fired. It moved as though the very fabric of reality bent around it, a ghostly dancer through lethal formations, untouchable yet deliberate. Orders barked across the fleet. Cannons fired. Missiles launched. Energy beams arced. Nothing struck. Nothing even registered. Entire squadrons blinked out of existence. Sensors, once precise and confident, faltered. Tactical displays showed blank spaces where ships had been moments ago. Orin's whisper grew frantic. "Sir, they're disappearing. Without engagement, it's impossible." Zill clenched his fists, forcing down the cold realization gnawing at him. No technology, no strategy should do this. Yet here it is, unraveling everything we built. Pride battled fear, arrogance collided with dawning terror. The human ship did not fight, it simply moved, indifferent, leaving devastation through absence rather than fire. The story shifts between the Dominions. Grand capital, world towering, spires, dark void ports, fleets docked and ready for war, and the empty expanses of space, where fleets vanish as though they never existed. Cinematic shots linger. The emptiness of erased orbits, the blinking lights of failed sensors. Crew members frozen in confusion and terror. Zill's inner monologue deepens the tension. What force moves this vessel? What god or trick of science defies everything we know? Are we obsolete? Orin's trembling voice cuts through. It's like reality itself bends for them. Even the cold-blooded Zill cannot dismiss it entirely. The climax is harrowing. The Valaris's flagship trembles, as entire fleets blink out in seconds. Tactical maps flash warnings, then empty grids. Zill freezes, heart pounding, staring into the void. Pride, arrogance, and fear clash violently inside him. The human ship does not attack, does not signal, does not communicate. Its mere presence challenges every assumption the Dominion has ever held. Cinematic visuals heighten the drama. Silent fleets in ruin, the emptiness of erased formations, the bridge of Valaris echoing with panicked whispers. Orin's final, hushed realization cuts through the tension. We were never ready for them. The story concludes ambiguously. Humanity departs, a single ship gliding across star systems with serene inevitability. The Dominion is shattered, not by missiles or lasers, but by existential dread. Zill's cold command now trembles with fear, and Orin's gaze lingers on the void, where the unknown drifts. The audience is left questioning human potential, the fragility of empires, and the incomprehensible scale of power that does not need to fight out at the edge of human space. A Dominion listening post crackled to life with a transmission that was not a plea, not a threat, just acknowledgement. The voice, digital yet calm, left the operators uneasy. They do not plead. They do not beg. They simply exist. That single line, devoid of any emotion, hung in the void, like a challenge. Kael, a young intelligence officer, stared at the display. Her fingers hovered over the console, hesitation mixing with fascination. She had trained for 1,000 simulations of human contact, of war, of diplomacy, but nothing had prepared her for this. Her superior, Command of 8, sneered from behind. It's nothing. Humanity is insignificant. They're barely more than a nuisance. Kael's jaw tightened. Insignificant. They sound deliberate, confident, unshakable. The Dominion prepared its fleet. Squadrons assembling, warships bristling with energy weapons, and war councils buzzing with arrogance. Yet something unsettled, Kael, an intangible thread of unease. like a shadow she could not name. When humanity dispatched a single ship, it moved silently across the void. It did not attack, it did not broadcast messages. And yet, fleets vanished. Ships blinked out of existence, one by one, leaving nothing behind. Kael watched the sensor feeds with growing dread. Every time a fleet formation disappeared, every time the empty void replaced their carefully plotted coordinates, her stomach tightened. No attack, no fire. Nothing explains this. Commander Vade laughed, dismissing her observations. Your imagination is working overtime. Technology doesn't just vanish. But Kael's mind would not be silenced. Each disappearance felt like a punch to her very understanding of reality. She initiated a reconnaissance probe, pushing past Commander Vade's warnings, floating in the darkness. Her vessel's sensors trembled with anomalous gravity waves that made no sense, energy fluctuations that defied physics. And then, with a horrifying elegance, her own command fleet began to vanish. She watched captains blink from existence, entire armadas swallowed by a void that seemed alive. Kael's inner monologue is tense, intimate. I should be panicked. I should retreat, but I can't look away. There's intelligence here, purpose. They move not to destroy but to assert, something beyond comprehension. Her fear battles fascination. The Dominion, for all its might, is exposed as fragile. Their hubris, their centuries of conquest, dissolve in the quiet ripples of an incomprehensible presence. Cinematic visuals heightened the suspense, sensors flickering like nervous eyes, star maps dissolving into black nothingness, close-ups of Kael's face, fear, AEW, and disbelief intertwined. The silence of space amplifies every heartbeat, every shallow breath aboard her vessel. The climax arrives without traditional battle. Kael floats, helpless, as her remaining fleet is erased. The transmission from humanity remains silent, yet potent, a presence, rather than an act. The Dominion retreats, not in triumph, but in unspoken terror. Kael alone bears witness to the inconceivable. Power protecting humanity, a power she cannot rationalize, and yet feels intimately. The resolution lingers on existential awe. Humanity is not defeated through firepower or strategy. The Dominion's arrogance is dismantled by observation, by understanding, or by lack thereof. Kael remains alive, a witness to the unknowable, forever changed. She understands that survival may no longer depend on strength alone, but on humility and respect for forces beyond comprehension. 50,000 ships, gone. No battle, no debris, nothing. The words flashed across the Dominion's war room screens, yet no one could process them fast enough. Admiral Vanish, tyrant emperor of 1,000 conquered worlds, stood rigid, his fingers curling round the edge of his command console. His empire, unchallenged for a millennium, had just been rendered powerless not by war, but by absence. Vanish's advisors panicked around him, voices overlapping, hysteria building in the otherwise orderly chamber. How is this possible? Our fleets are gone. One warlord, eyes wide with terror, stumbled backward. Vanish's mind raced, pride and disbelief colliding. This cannot be happening. They are supposed to fear us. They are supposed to die before we lift a finger. And yet, nothing. The human ship had appeared silently, almost mocking. A single vessel, sleek and unassuming, slipped through the Dominion's formation with impossible precision. It did not fire, did not communicate, and yet entire squadrons vanished as if erased from existence. Sensors failed to explain its energy readings, non-existent, space-time distortions, subtle yet undeniable. The Dominion's best strategists could offer no solution. Vanish's inner monologue revealed the layers of his hubris. I am the master of this empire. Armadas obey my command. Worlds kneel before me. And yet, one insignificant human ship moves like a god across my maps. One, and it unravels everything. He felt fear he had not known since childhood, a gnawing realization that control, that power, was an illusion. The setting emphasizes scale and devastation. Massive battle stations orbiting dead worlds, empty space punctuated by disappearing fleets, and the Dominion's capital once vibrant now a ghostly tableau of pride on the brink of collapse. Cinematically, long shots of Vanish's flagship drifting amid the void, tactical displays flickering with empty coordinates, evoked a sense of helpless grandeur. Tension escalates as Vanish attempts to deploy countermeasures, coordinated strikes, quantum traps, and even experimental weapons, but the human ship anticipates and neutralizes them without firing a single shot. Voronchar watches his 1,000-ship fleet vanish within seconds, armadas dissolving into nothingness, like smoke in the wind. His ego fractures alongside his fleet. Disbelief turns into raw terror. The emotional arc deepens when Voronchar receives a terse human message. Acknowledged. No threat, no demand, just recognition. The simplicity of it is horrifying. In that instant, the Dominion realizes that survival is not achieved through conquest, but through understanding forces beyond comprehension. Voronchar is left grappling with the fragility of empire, the limits of fear, and the arrogance of believing oneself invincible. Cinematic moments punctuate the narrative. Extreme close-ups of Voronchar's eyes reflecting empty wide shots of fleets dissolving into darkness, tactical displays flickering and going dead, and the human ship moving like a phantom, touched by reality. Subtle humor appears through advisors' futile attempts to rationalize the impossible. Perhaps it's a trick. Some kind of, and then their consoles vanish mid-sentence, swallowed by the void. The climax is both visual and emotional. Voronchar stands alone on the bridge, surrounded by the remnants of his empire, realizing that the true threat is not humanity itself, but a force beyond understanding. Suspense peaks as the audience comprehends the magnitude of what has occurred, not a war fought, but a cosmic reckoning delivered with quiet inevitability. The resolution is chillingly contemplative. The Dominion retreats, not in triumph, but in existential fear. Voronchar is forced to confront humility, survival, and the unknowable power humanity, or something aligned with humanity, wields. The Empire's foundations are shaken. Stories of the lost fleets will echo for generations. As a warning against hubris, what you are about to see defies explanation. The words scrolled across the Dominion observation deck screens, accompanied by a low, almost reverent hum. Dr. Coulter, a Dominion scientist who had spent his life studying the unknown, leaned closer, his eyes reflecting blinking star systems. Unlike the generals and admirals around him, he did not feel fear at first, only curiosity mixed with dread. Coulter had spent decades charting the edges of known space, studying anomalies and pushing the limits of physics. Now, those anomalies had come alive. A single human ship drifted toward the Dominion fleet, a vessel so simple it seemed harmless. Yet fleets began to vanish around it. No explosions, no debris, no distress signals, only silence where entire armadas once existed. The environment alternates between sterile Dominion laboratories, tense observation decks, and the endless void of space. Cinematic shots linger on Coulter's face as awe and fear mix. While tactical displays flicker and distort under the influence of the human ship, sensors fail. Instruments return impossible readings. As fleets disappear one by one, thoughts grow urgent. This is not conventional destruction, it is something else entirely, something that bends reality itself. And yet, it does not attack, it does not consume, it observes, or judges, or warns. Around him, Dominion officers panic. Alarms blare, commands are shouted, but nothing changes. Coulter remains focused, driven by the need to understand. The conflict escalates when Coulter boards a research shuttle to approach the human ship more closely. Every measurement defies known physics. Light bends unnaturally. Gravity fluctuates. Even time feels distorted. With growing terror and fascination, he realizes, if this is humanity, then everything they believed has been wrong. Fragments of communication begin to appear, signals that suggest intelligence beyond comprehension. The human ship appears to be in multiple places without moving through space. Coulter slowly realizes this is not technology as they understand it. It may be something alive, or something protecting life. The climax arrives as Coulter witnesses entire fleets vanish in real time. Absolute emptiness remains where once there was power. Stars reflect off empty hulls. His mind strains under the impossible truth. They do not fight. They simply exist, and everything else becomes insignificant. The emotional peak is a mixture of fear, AW, and existential realization. Coulter is torn between reporting this discovery to the Dominion or keeping silent to prevent further destruction. The weight of knowledge becomes unbearable. The resolution is haunting. Coulter survives alone in the void where fleets once ruled, becoming the sole witness to an incomprehensible force. The Dominion retreats, humbled and shaken, while humanity's presence remains silent, absolute, and unknowable. One ship, one chance, one test of pride. Admiral Kren stared at the holographic map of uncharted space. The coordinates were precise, almost intentionally simple. Humanity had sent a single vessel, silent, unassuming, and apparently alone, yet its presence carried an undeniable weight. Behind him, 1,000 ships of the Dominion fleet waited, engines humming, weapons armed, sensors straining to detect the invisible. Kren was a loyal commander, trained to respect protocol and fear the unknown. Around him, officers whispered doubts. Lieutenant Sella frowned at the console. "Admiral, this could be a decoy. We cannot afford mistakes." Kren nodded silently, masking his fear and pride. "If this is a trap, humanity is cruel. If it is a test, then we are unworthy." Setting emphasizes isolation. Endless space swallowing the fleet, stars dim in comparison to the darkness ahead. Ship corridors tremble under gravitational anomalies. Tactical displays flicker. Crew members stand frozen in dim red light. As the fleet advances, sensors begin to fail. Ships blink in and out of existence. Communications break down. Navigation systems stutter. With each disappearance, panic spreads. Kren struggles to maintain control, but even he senses this is beyond strategy. The human ship moves not like a machine but like space itself, bending around it. It appears in multiple locations at once, never firing, only observing. Reality itself begins to distort. Time shifts, gravity ripples, and light bends unnaturally. A moment of dark humor breaks through tension when a crewman mutters, "It feels like the universe is judging us." At the peak of chaos, Kren witnesses a formation disappear and reappear altered, as if reality itself has been rewritten. The fleet collapses into confusion. Then comes the final message: observe. No explanation, no negotiation, only consequence. The fleet retreats in silence. Kren is left changed forever, realizing that survival, not conquest, is the only truth that matters. 1,000 ships, gone, and no one knew why. Admiral Jarth Kren stood on the flagship bridge, staring into the endless void. The fleet that once symbolized power now felt fragile, like it could vanish at any moment. Humanity's single ship had drawn them into something far beyond war, something they could not understand. Kren, once confident and ambitious, now felt doubt creeping in. His thoughts betrayed him. We have conquered worlds, yet we cannot even understand this around him. The bridge flickered with unstable sensor readings, and the silence of space felt heavier than any battle. The setting emphasizes vast emptiness, fleets stretching into blackness, distant stars twinkling like cold eyes, inhuman signals that appeared deceptively harmless. Cinematic visuals linger on the trembling hands of crewmen. Long corridors dimly lit by red warning lights, and the silent majesty of ships drifting into an unknowable void. The human vessel is a ghost in the darkness, never firing, never communicating, yet fully present, a looming specter of unknown intent. As the fleet approached the coordinates, the first disappearances occurred. Ships blinked out of existence without warning, leaving their positions empty and alarms screaming across the fleet. Panic rippled like wildfire. Kren gritted his teeth, forcing command. Hold formation. Maintain contact. His voice was firm, but inside, dread clawed at him. This isn't battle. This is judgment. Tension escalates with every vanished ship. Tactical displays, once precise and orderly, flicker and distort. Crew members fight to stabilize navigation and maintain cohesion. Subtle humor pierces the fear as a young ensign mutters, "I feel like the universe is ignoring us," and the bridge officers force themselves not to laugh, though it's a momentary relief from the growing horror. Kren's inner conflict intensifies. Pride, fear, and the crushing realization of vulnerability intertwine. The human, or perhaps the force behind the human ship, interacts with the Dominion fleet in ways that defy comprehension. Time dilation, spatial distortion, and gravitational anomalies unsettle the crew. Ships no longer respond predictably to commands, as if the very laws of physics are being rewritten. Cinematic sequences highlight corridors bending, stars warping in the viewport, and long shots of the fleet seeming to stretch into infinity before collapsing into absence. The climax is both visual and psychological. Kren watches, frozen, as his flagship and supporting vessels ripple, then vanish, leaving the void disturbingly empty. Panic and awe ripple across the bridge. Crew members cling to consoles, trying to reconcile reality with expectation. Kren's inner monologue reaches a peak. We are not invincible. We are insignificant. Humanity, or something behind it, is beyond us. Resolution comes as the surviving ships retreat. Their commanders shaken, pride wounded, and ambition humbled. The human presence remains silent, inscrutable, leaving Kren with a profound sense of awe and fear. He reflects, perhaps the lesson is not in victory, but in understanding, in restraint. Perhaps survival requires humility as much as strength. The audience is left contemplating cosmic morality, the unknown, and the fragility of even the mightiest empires. We do not resist. Emperor Voronchow's message echoed across the Dominion fleet, trembling through communication channels, like a cold wind through empty corridors. The words were simple, yet their weight was catastrophic. After centuries of conquest, after empires fallen at his feet, Voronchow had never felt so powerless. Humanity, the force protecting it, had forced a surrender, without a single shot fired. The scene opens on the Dominion capital, its grand spires now shadowed and silent. The once bustling war rooms are empty, save for trembling advisors and warlords who stare at tactical displays showing fleets immobilized in the void. Cinematic shots linger on their faces, fear, disbelief, and the slow dawning of humiliation. The camera pans to a Dominion scientist, Dr. Elric Varen, hunched over, flickering monitors, scanning signals that defy comprehension. Unlike the military, he approaches this cosmic enigma with curiosity, not pride. Varen observes anomalies in the human ship's transmissions patterns, distortions, and energy signatures beyond known physics. It's not a weapon. At least, not in any sense we understand, he murmurs to himself. His inner monologue wrestles with wonder and dread. If this is their doing, humanity wields unimaginable power. If not, then something older, something vast, intervenes on their behalf. The tension builds as Voronchow orders his fleet to move, only to find ships frozen, systems unresponsive, tactical maps warping under forces beyond prediction. The psychological aftermath of defeat dominates the narrative. Warlords argue, some advocating revenge, others whispering surrender. Voronchow paces in silence, haunted by pride and the realization that his empire once unshakably is now a fragile shadow of itself. Cinematic visuals capture trembling hands on consoles, empty corridors, and stars seen through capital windows, calm and indifferent, juxtaposing the human fragility below. As Dr. Varone analyzes deeper, a revelation emerges. The human ship is guided, or protected by an ancient unseen force. The science is uncertain yet undeniable. Fleets vanish not by weapons, but by some entity beyond comprehension. Suspense rises with each flickering signal and distorted reading. Voronchow's internal conflict intensifies. Do we fight what we cannot fight? Or do we survive by bending pride into obedience? The climax arrives as the unseen force through subtle distortions, trembling ships, and cascading energy, pulses demonstrates dominance without aggression. The Dominion realizes their mistakes, arrogance, conquest, and reliance on brute force are meaningless against incomprehensible power. Cinematic sequences, monitors flickering with ghostly images, the Emperor staring at a blank void where his fleet should be, and slow-motion shots of his advisors frozen in awe and fear. Resolution is quiet yet monumental. Voronchow accepts the surrender, his ego wounded, his empire irrevocably humbled. Humanity remains a silent presence, their ship gone, leaving only questions. Dr. Varone records his findings. Knowing the Dominion's understanding is limited, we were spared. Not by mercy perhaps, but by the intervention of something older than us all. Audiences are left with awe, contemplation, and existential reflection. Power may exist beyond comprehension, and survival may demand humility rather than victory.